Hey Flosstube, this is Brian. Welcome back. This is my 13th Flosstube video, and it will be an update of my March progress along with the discussion of my plans for April. But first of all, I want to thank everybody for their comments and thank everybody for watching my last video. I really enjoy hearing from you and hearing your encouragement. Also, I want to welcome anybody who's new to my channel. I hope that you enjoy watching this video and that you'll stay around and check out some of my other videos. So in my last video, I did not have a lot of comments that I feel like I need to respond to. However, I've had a couple of questions on Instagram that I want to talk about. I had somebody on Instagram ask me why I started down in the left corner, if there was any significance to that. And I just thought I'd reiterate, I don't like starting in the middle. It feels too chaotic to me to start in the middle and then work out, because I mean you can go any direction and it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So I like starting in a corner, and generally I tend to favor the lower left corner. I don't know, that just seems to be the way my brain works. However, if I see a design that I think dictates that I start in a different place, in a different corner, then I'll do that. And also, part of the reason why I like starting in the corner is it's my final check to make sure that I have the right size fabric and that it's oriented correctly and all that. And the reason why that is when I start in the corner, I don't measure in 3 inches and start. What I do is I find the middle of my fabric and I place a pin where I want my middle to be. And then I start counting down to the corner. And as I count, what I do is after I place my pin in the middle of the chart, then I place a pin to the next place where there's a bold grid line in the chart. And then I just count 10 stitches. And I count until I have as many pins in my fabric as I have bold grid lines over to the side. And then I do the same thing. I find the bold grid line going either up or down, and I place a pin there, and then I count down until I have as many pins as match my grid lines on my chart. That to me guarantees that I have, when I hit the corner, if it's not where I expect it to be, if I run off the edge of the fabric, then that means there's something wrong. I think that kind of guards you against having the wrong count, accidentally having the wrong count fabric. It guards against maybe there being a typo in the stitch count that's displayed with the chart. It just feels really good to me to be able to do that and make sure that everything's kosher before I put the first stitch in. So a couple of days after my last video, I decided that I wanted to go searching for some fabric, and I didn't want to order it and have to wait for it. I wanted fabric right then. So I decided to go to my LNS, which is Attic Needlework in Mesa, Arizona. It's actually not very far away from where I work. So I took lunch and I went up to Attic Needlework. And so I went up there and went in and started looking at fabrics. And I pulled some of the floss that I needed to make sure that it looked good against the fabric, and was trying to decide what kind of fabric to use. And I had one of the ladies in the shop started to help me, and I think she could tell I was kind of nervous. I feel kind of uncomfortable in needlework shops. I know I shouldn't, but I just do. I feel like I'm in a place where I don't belong, and somebody's going to say, "Hey, what are you doing here? You need to get out." I know that's just the way I feel. I know that's kind of irrational. Anyway, as she was helping me, I think she could tell that I was a little bit nervous, and she started talking about I chose a cream 32 count cream Belfast linen, and as she was getting it ready, she started talking about how Zweigart is like the really good linen, and about how the orange stripe in the selvage is an indication that it's Zweigart, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of know that. I know that. But I think she was trying to put me at ease a little bit. And as she was doing that, I had somebody come up to me and say, "Are you on Flosstube? Are you blitstitch?" And I said, "Yes." And that was that was a little bit disconcerting to me. And it turned out to be Kelly. Hi, Kelly. Kelly actually had asked me in my last video if I knew of any needle workshops in the Phoenix area. She actually lives on the other side of Phoenix from me, and it says that there's nothing over there. And so I told her about Attic Needlework, and we happened to show up in the store at the same time on the same day. It was kind of strange for me to have somebody recognize me from a video. And the lady that helped me when she found out that I did Flosstube videos, she kind of like she was like, "Wow, and how does it feel to be famous?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know if I'm really famous." And it kind of made me feel a little bit awkward. So I didn't handle this situation very well. But Kelly, I was glad to meet you, and hope that you enjoyed your visit to Attic Needlework as much as I did. Also, on my last video, I talked about how I was planning on making a project roll. I just needed to get the supplies. So I got the supplies, and I decided I was going to try to make a project roll. And I need a pretty big one because some of my pieces are fat halves, and so I needed something that would hold a 27 by 36 inch piece of fabric. And that's huge. So I bought my fabric, and I was playing Vanna's video and following along, and I got to the part where it was time to start quilting, and I put in my grid lines, and I started quilting, and I got about halfway through quilting, going in one direction, and all of a sudden all my fabric on the top started. When I got to the end of the row, I was getting this great big fold, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then I turned it over and found out that I had a fold that I'd sewn in on the back side of the fabric, and it was just, everything was just all going all wonky, and that really discouraged me. So I called the cavalry, and the cavalry is my mom. My mom has been sewing as long as I can remember. When I was growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, and she actually sewed clothes for us. I don't think I went to school with a store-bought shirt until I was in junior high school. My mom made all my shirts for me, and she even took a class and learned how to make jeans, and she made jeans. She didn't make jeans for me because I was too old, but she made jeans for my brothers. She's always sewn. And so I called her up and told her what had happened, and she said, "Well, send it to me and I'll see if I can fix it." And so I put it in a box and sent it to her. And she called me up and she said, why did you keep sewing? Why did you think it was just going to get better all by itself? And I'm like, I didn't know it had happened until it was too late. And she said, "Well, I got it all picked out, and I've got it all sewn again." I said, "Well, you're a real hero for picking out all of that sewing that I did." And she said, "Well, I just used a razor blade and cut all the stitches underneath." And she said, "I only nicked the fabric a couple of times." So anyway, she fixed it, and I also sent her another. I wanted 2 project rolls, one to hold my whips and one to hold the projects that I finished. And so she fixed the one that I had messed up, and also sewed another one for me. I'd sent her another set of some more fabric. So I received those last week, and I haven't had time to put them together, but I'm going to assemble them and show them to you when I get them all assembled. I'm excited to do that. It's just my Saturdays are really busy right now. This is a perfect case of a Saturday that's really busy. I'm going to be judging in a science fair competition next week, and I have to go today to train on how to be a judge. I also play the organ, and I took organ classes when I was going to school at Utah State, and then I really haven't had an opportunity to play the organ very much. But about a year and a half ago, I was asked to play organ for our worship services, for our sacrament meetings. And so I've had to try to regain everything that I've lost. And so I'm playing the organ tomorrow. I'm playing the organ for Easter as well. And the Easter hymns that we have are some of the most complicated in our hymn book. So I've got a lot of practicing to do to get ready for that. So today is really busy. I'm not going to have time to do any work like that. Another update I want to give you is about my nativity, and like I say, my Saturdays have been really busy, and I haven't done anything with my nativity. It's just sitting. My wife mentioned that the other day and said, "You kind of stopped." And I said, "Well, I haven't stopped. I just haven't had time." And one of my kids said, "Yeah, cross stitch is a priority." And she said, "Well, I knew that, but so I just haven't had time to do that." So the next thing I want to do is I've started sharing with you some of the patterns that I have. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to pick up where I left off with my For the Love of Cross Stitch patterns and share with you some more. So we'll just go from here. This is from March 1996, For the Love of Cross Stitch. And I think this, when I see this, I think of Kay. Kay, look at that. There's some pansies for you. I don't know if you've got this one. I really like these. I like pansies too, although I think I like irises and roses better. Irises and roses remind me of my grandpa. My grandpa had in his yard, he had roses all around the edge of the yard, and he had a big bed of irises in the back. And in the summertime when you were at his house, my grandma always had a rose in kind of like it might have been a brandy snifter on the table. So roses and irises remind me of my grandparents. Pansies, when I was a kid in primary, which is kind of a church for elementary age kids, we used to sing a song, and I'm not going to sing it for you, but I'll recite it for you. And that's why I like pansies. This song is called, it goes, "Little purple pansies touched with yellow gold, growing in the corner of my garden old. We are very tiny, but must try, just one spot to gladden you and I." And so that's why I like pansies, is that it reminds me of that song and my childhood. So there you go. Let's see what else we've got here. This is a set that's in the March and May 1996 For the Love of Cross Stitch, and they're basically just flowers. These are like spring flowers and summer flowers. I like those. Here's another one I like. This is from the July 1996 issue of For the Love of Cross Stitch. And it says, "My family and me welcome thee." So it's a bunch of bears. I don't know. Back in the 90s, it seemed like stitching teddy bears was a thing, because there's lots of teddy bear program patterns. Here's another series that I kind of like. This is from the July and September 1996 issue of For the Love of Cross Stitch. And there are a couple of beach scenes. Here's a beach scenes with some umbrellas. And here's one with the sailboat. I like the colors in these. They're really bright, pretty colors. This one, I think Wendy is stitching this. This is a virtuous woman. This was in the March 1997 issue of For the Love of Cross Stitch. I kind of like that one too. My mom stitched one based on, is it Proverbs 31, I think. my mom stitched one that it's more elegant that I really liked, and she had it hanging up in her house for a while. She doesn't anymore, but anyway, so let's see here. Oh, here's a basket, a couple of baskets of flowers that are kind of cool. I like the way they're kind of stylized. They're kind of nice. That's from the May 1997 issue. I like this one too. Here's the hummingbird. That's the September 1997 issue for The Love of Cross Stitch. Let's see here. Oh, these band samplers. They had a series of seasonal band samplers that I really liked, and I'm kind of a sucker for sets of seasons. So this started in the March 1998 issue with winter, and it says "Let It Snow," and then in May 1998 spring is "Bless Our Home." Summer, July 1998, "Let the Sun Shine In." And fall, September 1998, "Peace and Plenty." I kind of like those. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's some more bears. And it says, "Families are forever." I kind of like that too. And I'll show you a couple more. This is September 1998. This is another D. Morgan piece. It's "Through this storm you do not walk alone" is what it says. And it's a lighthouse. And I'll show you one more. This is September 1998. You know how magazines, they have the designer of the month. Well, in September 1998, Teresa Wentzler was the designer of the month. And they published, this is like Victorian Roses. This is probably one that's not very well known of hers. But it looks really cool. I mean, it's signature Teresa Wentzler, I think. It looks just like everything else she did. So, and I'll stop there. So there's some more of my For the Love of Cross Stitch patterns. I have a whole bunch more, so we'll pick up where we left off sometime else. Okay. And then finally, I just wanted to give a couple of shout outs to people who I've watched and found, and I wanted to share with you. First of all, I'll put a link to their channels down below. The first one is Stitch and Mommy. I've been following her on Instagram for a long time, and she started making videos, and I really like the stuff that she does. One of the things that she's doing, I don't know if she's talked about it on her videos, but on Instagram, she's doing a temperature sampler. It's basically it's a design that she sells on her Etsy shop, and it's basically a row of flowers, and each petal is colored according to the temperature of that day. And so she has a group for each month so that you can see the temperature. And then also I want to shout out Marlene Stitchin' by the Lake. I always enjoy watching her. She seems so elegant and refined with the way that she talks. I love her. She has a very mild southern accent, and I just love listening to her talk and watching her. And she's always working on some great stuff. So hi, Marlene. Also, there's a guy named Alex, and he's Russian, and he's done some videos about some of the things he stitched and a couple of other things. I wish I could understand Russian, because I'd like to be able to watch and understand all these Russian cross stitchers. His videos are really fun to watch, really great to watch though. They're very very heavily produced. He does a really good job making them look really nice. And you can check him out if you want. Okay, so that's about it. So I want to, let's do a review of my progress for March. First of all, before we do that, I just want to review, I'm going to flash back, and I said this back in January. And one of the things that I learned about myself towards the end of 2016 is that I can't have as many whips going as I do. Right now I have 9 whips, and if you count the duck season, the rest of the other 3 of the series for that one, I actually have 10 whips, and that's just too much. It's too much for a couple of reasons. One is that it makes my rotation longer. I find that I want to stitch on pieces more frequently than every 2 or 2.5 months, which is kind of where I am right now with that huge rotation. I also have found that I like having finishes every once in a while, and the more pieces that I have in my rotation, the less often I'm going to have a finish. And if I look at my spreadsheets and kind of when predictions are for when I'm going to finish stuff, right now I'm thinking that if I kept my current rotation, that I would have hardly any finishes in 2017. And I feel like I need finishes. That helps me feel like I've accomplished a little bit more. So I am changing the way I am stitching. I'm changing my rotation. And my plan is that I'm going to have 4 or 5 pieces in my rotation. I'm going to set a few of my whips aside for a little bit, and I'm going to work on just 4 pieces. Hopefully that will get me to a point where I get some finishes, and then as I finish things, I'm going to add things from my whips back into my rotation. My goal is that by the end of 2017 that I will have 4 whips. Right now I really don't have any desires to start anything because I've got so much going right now. If I do get a desire to stitch something and I feel like I can do it, it'll be something really small that won't take up a lot of time to stitch, just so I don't throw everything out of whack. So let's all pause and realize that guy didn't know what he was talking about, because I've done 2 things this month that I said I wasn't going to do. I had a new start, and it's not a little start, it's a big start. And I also kind of changed my rotation a little bit. So first of all, let's look at my graphs. First of all, here's my trend. You'll see how many stitches I did. It looks like it's about an average month. The average number of stitches is about the same, and the number of days I stitched looks good. Here's the Pareto of what days I worked on each project. You'll see I'm pretty consistent. And also here's the Pareto of the number of stitches that I put in, and that looks pretty much the same as before. Finally, this is my whip trend. You'll see that I've gone up instead of down, but I'm gonna fix that. I anticipate that pretty soon I'm going to have a couple of finishes that's going to drop the number of my whips, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So that's kind of my progress. March was a really good month for me. I feel like it was about average. I got a lot done. I had a new start, and it was really great. So let's talk about what I did. First of all, the first thing I worked on last month was Verandas of South Battery. What I did is it was the last project I worked on in February, and I just continued working on it in March because I was hoping to be able to finish all the cross stitching, which didn't happen. But since the beginning of the month in April, I've been working on this. I've been working on this for another week. So what you're going to see is kind of like combined March, April so far. So first of all, I will share with you, this is Verandas, a South Battery. It's a graphs by Barbara and Cheryl. It's a street scene in Charleston, South Carolina. And I can't tell you how many people on Instagram keep telling me, I'm from South Carolina and this looks awesome. There are a ton of people who make me want to see this actually. So I'm stitching it on 32 count platinum even weave. And I'll show you a picture of what it looked like before when you last saw it. And this is actually when you last saw it back in the beginning of February, I think. So since then, I've been working on it, and like I say, in March, I didn't finish the cross stitching, but I've been working on it in April, and I have finished all of the cross stitching. So all of the houses are cross stitched. Look at that. I am so happy about that. So I'll give you a bit of a close-up. And also, I finished the cross-stitching a few days ago, and I've started back-stitching. So I don't know, the way that they're not like Teresa Wentzler. Teresa Wentzler back-stitches everything, outlines everything. Barbara and Cheryl, they just use back-stitch for emphasis. So you'll notice I've backstitched the wrought iron fence that goes all the way across the fences and the gates, and now I'm working on the houses coming this way, and it's mostly just lines between floors just to kind of emphasize things. So I don't know how much of that you'll be able to see here, but it's looking good. So I've got 3 more houses that I need to backstitch, and then I need to put in the window panes and then the slats on the veranda railings. And this piece will be done. I am so excited. I've been working on this for a year, and I actually looked at my records, and I started it back in February of 2016, and I looked, and I worked on it 60 days to finish it. And I actually started this, I don't know, it might have been 10 years ago when I really started it. I started over here on this house. And when I started this piece, I was still stitching in hand. And one of the reasons why I stopped doing that is I couldn't get good tension, good consistent tension on my stitches that way. And when I go back over that house, the tension's not good. I do not like the stitches on that house. But I'm not going to pull it out. I'm not going to take everything out and restitch it. So it's just going to have to be the way it is. But when I'm over there back stitching on that house, it's just, I don't like the way it looks. So that's not going to be entered in any competition. Okay, the next thing that I worked on was my Corazon Sampler. And this is it right here. It's a design by CloRaMi Designs. It's a French alphabet type sampler with a corazon with a heart motif in the middle. I'm stitching this on 36 count antique white Edinburgh linen. And I'm stitching it, the color that I'm using is DMC 815, which is a really nice red. If you will, and here's a picture of what it looked like before. So you'll see that before I had, okay, so and this is what it looks like now. Boy, this is getting big. I really have to step back so that you can see it all. So basically, what I did this month is I filled in these baskets of flowers, and then there's like hearts, stars, and flowers all the way through here. And then I also did these letters over here. So now there's no holes, and I'm starting to work on the next alphabet down. So I am more than halfway finished with this piece. I love, every time I take it out and work on it, I love it more. This is so fun to work with. It's a nice change because it's all the same color. At one time I thought that would be boring, but it's actually kind of relaxing, so I don't have to worry about changing colors all the time. The next piece that I worked on is Autumn Magic. This is what it is. It's a design charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. It's based on a painting by Randal Spangler. It's a house in an autumn setting. And I'm stitching this 1/1 on 25 count antique white Lugana. I am stitching, and I'll insert a picture here of what it looks like the last time you saw it. And this is what it looks like now. So basically I've been working on this page, and I only did a couple of diagonals. I was hoping to get down to the corner of this page is right here, so I'm almost to the corner. So, and I really like up by the stairs, you're starting to see the other column and starting to see the flowers that are at the base of that column. I really like how that's turning out. Last time I said I was going to work on this two weeks. That didn't happen because of my new start. So I only worked on this 6 days last month. But I really like how this turned out. I want to get some things finished so that I feel like I can spend more time on that, because I think the extra time really makes a difference. Okay, so I've been building up. The next thing I did is I started this. And this is Let Freedom Ring. I just couldn't resist. So I started Let Freedom Ring. And I decided to stitch it on 32 count cream Belfast linen. This is why I went to Attic Needlework, was to get the fabric for this. And when I held the floss up to fabrics that were brown, it looked to me like the floss would kind of get washed out. And I know that's older samplers, that's what you want, but I wanted to be able to see things a little bit better, so I decided to go with cream. So I worked on this for about 6 days, and this is what I was able to do. So you'll see I was able to do the bottom border with the oak leaves. I like these soldiers, this woman, this man. This motif right here was really fun to stitch. And I also put my first initial over here in this block. Now I have one of the early copies. If you have one of the early copies, the blocks that are in the back of the chart don't match the blocks that are charted here. And I made a change. I decided it's just charted to have an outline. I decided to stitch everything inside the block. I thought that would look better, just because the letters don't fit exactly. They aren't exactly square with the block. Another change that I'm doing, there are a lot of places where the back stitch is charted as going across an empty square. I don't like that, so I'm putting in quarter stitches wherever that happens, because I like having a quarter stitch there to kind of fill things in. You'll notice here, this is the first leaf I did, and I was figuring out what to do with the variegation. This leaf I stitched vertically like this, and you can see there's a vertical stripe where the variegation changed. I didn't really like that very much, so on these other leaves I stitched diagonally, and I like the way that looks better. And I am trying to decide whether or not I want to keep this or if I want to take it out and stitch it diagonally. I haven't decided exactly. So what do you think? just curious what you guys think, if I should take it out or not. I'm kind of on the fence. I haven't decided one way or another. So I think this is a good start to Let Freedom Ring. And as I was talking about starting this on Instagram, Michelle, who's Farm Girl, I'll link to her channel below, suggested, she said, you really ought to start a stitch along. And she kind of bugged me about it, and I decided to do one. So there's a group on Facebook called Let Freedom Ring Sampler Stitch Along. Let Freedom Ring Sampler Sal. I'll post a link to it in my video. Feel free, if you want to join this and join us in stitching this, feel free to join us in that Facebook group. We're also using the hashtag Let Freedom Ring Sal on Instagram. So if you want to post your pictures on Instagram as well and share them there, you can do that. There are still people there. There are no rules, no specific starting time. Just whenever you want to, you can start and stitch it however long it takes you to stitch it. The only rules is to be nice to everybody and stay on topic with talking about this stitch along. So it'd be great to have as many people join as possible. I'm really excited about this. I'm excited to get the bottom done so then I can start working on the building and see how that's going to turn out. So that's Let Freedom Ring. So, and then after I finished working on my Let Freedom Ring for my rotation, I was supposed to work on And a Forest Screw, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that. And part of the reason why is it was more of the same kind of stitching as Let Freedom Ring. I think I kind of have the same problem that Stephanie from Lindy Stitches talked about a few videos ago. She talked about how she was getting tired of all of her projects because they were all stitching motifs. This is motifs, and then And a Forest Screw is motifs too. And I just couldn't do another 6 days of motifs. So instead, I decided to get something else out, and I decided to work on red. So that is this. This is a design by Mirabilia. It's pretty popular. I've seen a lot of people stitching her. I am stitching her on 32 count French lace linen. It's the called for linen. And I am just doing it with the called for colors. I've been working on this. It's been a while since I stitched this. It was like just before Christmas the last time I stitched on it. And as I pulled it out, I realized that I kind of missed working on her because I really had a lot of fun stitching her. So I'll put a picture of what she looked like the last time you saw her. And one of the things that I realized as I started stitching her is I am really close to getting her finished. So this is what she looks like now. So I'm continuing to stitch. Up here is where I stitched. You'll see I finished her arm. Her arm's all finished. I'm starting to see her hood on her cloak. I'm also starting to see her waist here. And this is her cloak over on this side. It's going to come up to her shoulder. Also, here's her other arm, so I'm starting to see her other arm. This bow in her dress is almost finished as well. And pretty much her entire dress. I just have a little bit more of her bodice here to do. And then her dress will be finished. So I am really close to finishing her. And I just always love, after I work on her and take her out of my scroll bars, I love to just look at her and see how much she's changed. So I'm actually really, really excited to be working on her again. So, that's all I worked on last month, and like I said, I'm really happy with what I was able to accomplish. So my plans for April, I decided to make a change just for April. I've decided that I am going to concentrate on finishing pieces. And I have 3 pieces that I am pretty sure I can finish in April. The first one is Verandas of South Battery. You saw how close I was to finishing that. The second one is Red. I'm really close to her. I think that I have enough time in April to finish Red. And the third thing that I think I can finish is the Corazon Sampler, which was something that I worked on. I haven't shown her for a while. It's a design by Abby Gurdon of Bees Needleworks, and it's the one that was released in parts. I have 3 more parts to stitch of Winter, and I think I'm going to do that to get that finished, just so that I can get my whips down. So if I can get 3 finishes in April, that will bring my whips down to 7, and that will make me feel really pretty good. And then I will start up my rotation again. I think I'm going to kind of shuffle things a little bit. I'm going to have to decide the order that I'm going to do things in, just because I don't want to have Let Freedom Ring and a Forest Screw back to back, because they're both kind of the same stitching. So I've got to figure out what order to work on them so that I get a variety every time I switch. So I am declaring April International Cross Stitch Finishing Month for the blitstitch household. Everything's just kind of lined up that way, and I'm really excited. I'm excited to get some finishes in. So that's all I have. Thanks for spending time with me. Once again, thanks for all your comments. Thanks for your likes. Thanks for everything that you suggest. If you have any questions for me, feel free to ask, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I hope that you have a great month in April. If you celebrate Easter, I hope you have a joyous Easter and enjoy celebrating that. We will see you in about a month. I generally only do monthly videos. I've thought about doing more videos more often, but if I did them every 2 weeks, I don't think I'd have as much to talk about. So I prefer doing them once a month. At any rate, like I did last time, I'm going to end with a slideshow of basically all the pictures that I posted on Instagram for the month of March. I hope that you enjoy it. I've had fun putting it together and seeing actually how much I actually stitched last month. So I'm gonna close with that. Once again, thanks for all of your likes, comments, and subscribes, and I hope you have a great month. We'll talk to you later. Goodbye.